So you're probably not going to be able to get an RTX 3070. It's coming out October 29th. I'm going to give you the 5 reasons with data to back it up from what's been happening lately that you're probably not going to get an RTX 3070. Let's get started. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology. Thank you for joining me again for another video. Remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and smash that like button. Let's talk about the RTX 3070. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I've been watching all of the launches very closely, all the way back to the RTX 3080, 3090, and I think there's a very little chance you're actually going to be able to get an RTX 3070, and I'm going to tell you the top 5 reasons why, and I'm going to back it up with different data points as well as different things that have been happening in the market. So let's start with the first one with a very important data point. That's going to be Nvidia themselves moved the launch from October 15th to October 29th. If that isn't an indication that we are already in sort of alarm emergency mode for the RTX 3070, I don't know what is. If this was a GPU that was already in ample supply without any issues, we wouldn't have even heard a murmur from Nvidia. But just the fact that they had to move the launch, which is actually pretty tremendous, even if there are maybe conflicting and competitive issues with AMD that they wanted to address. AMD, of course, announcing their RDNA 2 Big Navi on October 28th. Nvidia moved it to the day after. There certainly is a synergy there with some competition, but in general, I think the main issue here really is stock. So this first reason is a huge indication as to why Nvidia really is going to have trouble keeping up with the 3070 stock. If they had an ample supply, or if the launch was going to be a lot smoother, they would have kept it where it is. But certainly with this delay in the launch, they've tried to buy themselves more time, which, okay, maybe it's going to improve something, but I still think just the very fact that they had to do this is a massive indication of where we are in terms of availability for the RTX 3070. So this is one of the big data points, one of the big sort of red flags, if you will, where we don't really think there's going to be enough GPUs when they actually get released on October 29th. Just because for Nvidia to go out of their way and delay the launch this much, it really means that they're really hustling to get not only these 3080s that are really back ordered and ramping up manufacturing, but they're really trying to keep up with what they know now is going to be tremendous RTX 3070 demand. The second major reason why you're probably not going to get an RTX 3070, that's going to have to do with the RTX 3080. If we listen to what Nvidia has been saying, and I've updated several videos previously, the RTX 3080 was kind of a surprise to them in terms of the demand. Apparently they had enough stock to cover what would be termed a normal launch, but because of all these extraneous issues that are going on in the world, they didn't really see the massive amount of demand coming for the RTX 3080. That's why we really have extremely low levels of stock compared to the demand that's out there. We can see how frustrating the launch went, having instantly sold out of not only the RTX 3080, but even the much more expensive, in fact, twice the price for only like a 15 to 20% gain in performance of the RTX 3090. Even that GPU, which is not really a very attractive value to performance proposition, that one sold out extremely fast. Some would even say faster than the RTX 3080. So knowing that the RTX 3080 launch was such a massive demand, and that gives us a good indication that the RTX 3070 launch will also be extremely difficult. Now think of all these people that couldn't get their hands on an RTX 3080. If they have a chance at an RTX 3070 at MSRP, which is $499, third-party cards will likely be somewhere between $500 and $600 for the higher end cards. Don't you think that they're going to take that chance and try to snag up at least a 3070? Because after all, the 3070 is going to be a great performer. It's not quite on the level of the 3080, but for $500, it pretty much presents the best value proposition that Nvidia almost has released in the last few years, beating, of course, like the 2080 Ti, and that's where we get to our third data point. The RTX 3070 justifiably is a really good GPU in terms of price to performance. In fact, there have been some benchmarks not only from Nvidia but also third-party leaked benchmarks that show it on par or better than an RTX 2080 Ti. For that reason, it's going to be even more in demand, because if somebody told you a few months ago that you can grab a 2080 Ti for like $500, of course everybody would jump on it, because that's the top performing GPU until RTX 3000 Turing GPUs were released. So all these people wanting a chance at a really high-end GPU, which the 3070 now is, at a price that's justifiably, it's still a little bit expensive. It's not a budget GPU, but certainly it's not $1,200, it's not $800. $500 for the performance you're getting with the RTX 3070 is certainly very fair, and for 99% of gamers will be more than sufficient. Of course, it has a little bit slower RAM compared to the RTX 3080, which has the GDDR6X. That's going to be a faster RAM, and that also has 10 gigabytes. The 3070 only has 8 gigabytes of VRAM, but honestly, unless you're trying to max out at 4K or even something like 8K, which barely the 3090 can do, it's not going to be a factor probably for several years. So I really wouldn't look at that. For everybody else trying to play a 1080p, 1440p, even some modest 4K gaming, the RTX 3070 will be more than enough. Of course, the RTX 3080 is better. It's not even priced tremendously too much higher, MSRP at $699, but we know how the story with that goes. It's been perpetually sold out. So performance-wise, people really want the RTX 3070. It's not like it's just a new GPU and people just want it to get it. It actually makes a lot of sense in terms of the performance it's putting out for the dollar that you're spending. And the fourth data point, while you're probably not going to get an RTX 3070, the little bit of information we have actually seen trickle down from different retailers. The website Video Cards have pointed to a couple of retailers like in Europe, showing the amount of stock that they've ordered, that they've received, and customer orders. And in every single case, much like the RTX 3080 launch, the numbers continue to be extremely low. That means retailers are getting very low stock of GPUs. A lot of people are ordering them, and the retailer just can't get enough from the different manufacturers like EVGA, Asus, Nvidia. They just simply cannot get enough of these GPUs. You can even see that Nvidia themselves took off the RTX 3080 and 3090 Founders Edition from their website and moved that responsibility over to Best Buy, not only showing you that they're trying to beef up their website with CAPTCHA and things of that nature, but also showing you they don't have enough to sell. You think that a major company like Nvidia would remove the Founders Edition GPUs if they had them to sell? Of course not. They would just keep selling them one after the other. But the fact that they removed them, it means that there's no stock, and they just want the website to be left alone, so that way they can really work on the back-end issues, hopefully making the 3070 launch a little bit easier. But even that, due to the demand compared to the supply, I don't think it's going to make all that much of a difference. So even Micro Center, which is a major US retailer, I remember when the 3080 and 3090 were released, people lined up outside of the store to physically try to get a card. But I heard stories of stores getting only like 10 to 12 GPUs, maybe some got 15 or 20, compared to the hundreds and thousands of people that want them. That's a very low number, and it looks like the RTX 3070 is sort of repeating itself here as well. One major fact that I think makes the RTX 3070 even more difficult to get because of the demand versus supply, look at the price, $499. Now look at the price of the RTX 3080. Many are $699 to even close to $800 for something like an Asus Strix. Not even to mention the 3090, which is $1,500 to $1,800 for a lot of the partner cards. You would think that a lot more people would want to get the $500 RTX 3070. That just fits in more gamers' budgets. It seems a lot more reasonable. And if you thought that, you would absolutely be right, which is another primary reason that the stock is going to be so much more difficult. Now, of course, the 3090 is not a great value to performance GPU. It's technically the best one. It's better than the 3080. The 3080 still has that crown of being sort of the best high-end performance to the value GPU, but the 3070 is certainly right there as well. And for the cheaper price, it's going to fit in more people's budgets, and especially considering the fact that the 3080 initial buyers that gave up on getting that GPU, everybody is going to be laser focused on the RTX 3070, therefore making your life a lot more difficult at actually getting one. And this is where the last data point comes into play. There have been many issues with bots and scalpers and things of that nature. Due to the extremely high demand, there most likely will be somebody more motivated than you to get these GPUs before you do in order to sell them and to scalp them, whatever reason it may be. This is going to be people running bots and running different, we can say, cheats and tricks like that to be able to get a 3070. they have more to gain from getting the 3070 and maybe selling it on the used market. So you can bet that if you're going to be there on launch day at like 11:59 a.m., you can bet they've been there maybe since like 6:59 a.m. If you're lining up at Micro Center for like 3 days, you can bet they're going to be like 4 days lining up. Due to the size and the demand of this launch, most likely there may be somebody that really wants it more than you. So that means more competition for the buyer to get the GPU. So this actually, it reaches kind of a little bit of a funny point. At what point do we really have to go this crazy for sort of a consumer item? It's not like a 2070 Super is performing poorly. I mean, most people are more than happy with 20 series, even 10 series GPUs. A 1080 Ti, even a 1080, a 1060, you can actually get away with playing a lot of games very well. There really doesn't have to be this frenzy over the new GPUs, but alas, here we are and the frenzy is here. I think sort of this very limited launch, some people think Nvidia would do it on purpose, but I really do think they got a little bit surprised by the amount of demand. They really are trying to ramp up a lot. Manufacturing, especially in the year that we've had, is certainly very difficult. That has caused the demand to go even more into a little bit of a frenzy. When people see something that is performing well for a good price, but they can't get it, it makes them want it even more. I think it's just human psychology. So I'll leave you with the note. Don't go too crazy trying to get a 3070. It's going to be difficult. If you get one, great. Just remember that if you don't get one, eventually these are going to be, pretty much widely available. AMD has their own GPUs coming out, being announced at the end of the month, the day before, like we mentioned. So just keep an eye on that. Have a little patience. Nvidia themselves said until 2021, stock is certainly going to be an issue. So I wouldn't drive yourself crazy trying to get one. Try to manage with whatever you have now until you can sort of find one that fits in your budget and that you can keep for a few years. That way it'll make more financial sense and you don't have to blindly just buy something because it's the latest and greatest. That's certainly not going to be the most ideal path. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Smash that like button. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.